When a comet breaks apart, the resulting scene is one of nature's most magnificent displays of chaos. Under the immense and uneven pressures of solar radiation and gravity, a fragile body of ice and rock gives way, shattering into a cloud of debris. Science tells us this is a fundamentally random process. There is no plan, no blueprint. The fragments, large and small, are cast out in a chaotic spray, their future paths dictated solely by the initial force of the explosion and the unfeeling laws of orbital mechanics. For decades, this has been the unchallenged model of cometary fragmentation. It is a process of disorder, a system moving from a state of low entropy to high entropy. But what if this assumption, this bedrock of cometary science, is wrong? What if, concealed within the apparent randomness, lies a hidden layer of profound order? This is the radical and unsettling question that has emerged from the fringes of the astronomical community in the wake of Free I/Atlas. Some observers, analyzing the telemetry and tracking data of the comet's debris cloud, began to notice something that defied easy explanation. The fragments were not scattering uniformly. They were forming distinct clusters, moving in concert, maintaining relative positions for far longer than they should have. This is the core premise of what is known as signal theory. The most sophisticated message is not one that is broadcast in a clear, but one that is hidden in what appears to be random noise. It is the art of steganography on a cosmic scale. Is it possible that the fragmentation of Free I/Atlas was not a natural death, but a deliberate deployment? A calculated act of dispersing information in a way that would look like an accident to a casual observer, but reveal itself as artificial to anyone who looked close enough? We are venturing into the realm of the truly profound, the possibility that we have witnessed not just a celestial event, but the opening of a cosmic message. To even begin to entertain such an extraordinary idea, we would need extraordinary evidence. The claim of an artificial pattern requires a standard of proof that goes far beyond simple anomaly. We would need to find a fingerprint, a marker of intelligence so clear and so fundamental that it could not be dismissed as a mere coincidence. The first place investigators looked was in the raw numbers. As the debris cloud was catalogued, the primary fragments were sorted into their distinct, gravitationally associated clusters. According to some leaked analyses that have circulated in online forums, when a number of major fragments in each primary cluster was counted, an impossible pattern emerged. The clusters allegedly contain 3, 5, 7, and 11 primary objects. This is not a random sequence. This is a sequence of consecutive prime numbers. Prime numbers are the atoms of mathematics, integers divisible only by 1 and themselves. They are a universal, unmistakable sign of intelligence. There is no known natural process that would cause a comet to break apart into a sequence of prime-numbered groups. To find such a sequence would be like finding a perfectly carved stone sphere on Mars. It is a direct violation of entropy. But the alleged pattern did not stop there. The second fingerprint was reportedly found in the geometry of the swarm. As the clusters drifted apart, their relative distances were tracked. The ratio of the distance between the 7 cluster and the 11 cluster to the distance between the 5 and 7 cluster was found to approximate 1.618, the golden ratio. This number, phi, is a fundamental constant that appears in biology, art, and architecture, often associated with design and life itself. Finally, there was the alignment. At a specific moment, as the swarm crossed the orbital plane of Mars, simulations showed the primary fragments from all clusters would have momentarily formed a near-perfect straight line, a vector pointing directly toward the location of Earth in its orbit. Random debris does not do this. It scatters. A line implies intent. A line pointing to Earth implies a recipient. Taken in isolation, any of these findings could be a statistical fluke. But taken together, a prime number sequence, encoded in a golden ratio geometry, performing an alignment that singles out our planet, it is a cascade of impossibilities. It is a cosmic fingerprint that demands an explanation. If we accept the premise that this pattern is intentional, we are faced with a profound choice of interpretation. The first, and most hopeful, is that we have received a message of welcome. It would be a greeting card from the stars, a carefully constructed hello from an intelligence that has mastered the universal language of mathematics. Let us deconstruct this optimistic view. The prime number sequence, 3, 5, 7, 11, serves as the initial handshake. It is the most basic, irreducible way to signal that you are a thinking entity and not a product of random chance. It's the first thing we included in our own Arecibo message. It is the cosmic equivalent of saying, we are here, and we are intelligent. The use of the golden ratio would be the second layer of this message. By encoding the geometry of the fragments in a ratio that is intimately linked with the structure of life itself, from the spiral of a seashell to the proportions of DNA, the senders could be communicating something more profound. They could be saying, we understand the principles of life. We, like you, are biological. It would be a gesture of shared identity across an unimaginable gulf of space. Finally, the alignment pointing to Earth transforms the message from a general broadcast into a personal letter. This wasn't a signal flare shot into the dark for anyone to see. This was addressed. It was a conscious act of saying, we see you. We know you are on the third planet. This message is for you. This interpretation paints a picture of a benevolent or at least curious intelligence. An intelligence that has taken great care to construct a message that is both undeniably artificial and fundamentally peaceful. It would be a cosmic Rosetta Stone, a puzzle box left on our doorstep containing the greatest revelation in human history. We are not alone, and someone is saying hello. There is, however, a second interpretation. An interpretation born from a more cynical, and perhaps more realistic, view of the universe. This view is often called the dark forest theory. It posits that the galaxy is like a dark forest at night, filled with silent hunters. The only law is survival, and to reveal your location is to invite your own destruction. In this terrifying reality, any message received from an unknown intelligence is not a greeting, it is a threat. Let us deconstruct the exact same data from this ominous perspective. The prime number sequence, 3, 5, 7, 11, is no longer a friendly hello. In a universe of predators, it could be a display of power. It signifies a command of mathematics and physics so advanced that they can engineer the very debris of a comet. It is a technological calling card that says, look at what we are capable of. The golden ratio is no longer a symbol of life, it is a symbol of a process. It could be a diagram of a cosmic event on a collision course, a countdown timer spiraling toward zero, or a representation of a physical law this intelligence has the power to manipulate. Finally, and most chillingly, the alignment. A vector pointing directly at Earth is no longer an invitation. It is a target lock. It is an act of supreme intimidation, a way of demonstrating not just that they know we are here, in this specific location, but that they can pinpoint us with engineered precision. The message transforms from, we see you, to, you have been seen. What could such a warning be about? It could be a threat from the senders themselves, a declaration of their dominance. Or it could be something more subtle. It could be a warning about a third party, a greater danger in the cosmos that they are cautioning us about. Or perhaps the most terrifying possibility of all, it could be a warning about ourselves. A message to humanity to cease our own radio broadcasts, to fall silent before we attract the attention of something far worse, a message that simply says, be quiet. They will hear you. We are left standing at a cosmic crossroads, presented with a single set of data that leads to two diametrically opposed conclusions. On one path lies a utopian future, a message of welcome that ushers humanity into a galactic community. On the other path lies a future of existential dread, a warning that our very existence has been targeted or threatened. How do we choose? The mainstream scientific response is to choose neither. It is to invoke the principle of apophenia, the human tendency to perceive meaningful patterns in random data. Our brains are pattern-finding machines, and in a cloud of thousands of fragments with billions of data points describing their positions and velocities, it is statistically inevitable that some fleeting, meaningless patterns will emerge. To science, this is a mind-bending coincidence, a cosmic Rorschach test onto which we are projecting our own hopes and fears. But the counter-argument is a powerful one. To dismiss this cascade of mathematical improbabilities as a mere coincidence feels, to some, like an act of willful ignorance. Is it the most likely explanation, or is it simply the most comfortable one? The one that allows us to go on with our lives without confronting the terrifying and transformative implications. The fragments of Free I/Atlas are now continuing their journey, their brief, fiery message, if there ever was one, fading as they recede into the darkness. But the pattern they left behind, whether real or imagined, is now seared into our consciousness. We are forced to confront the possibility that the universe is not as silent as we once believed. The question we must now ask ourselves is this: do we treat this event as a statistical anomaly and return to our comfortable silence? Or do we act as though we have been sent the most important message in history? The choice could be the most consequential decision our species will ever make.